Aika said you had a story for me.
The one that she liked, the one that she liked so much, that I said I carry throughout my life. Whenever I go into situations and I think, what's happening? Why is this where, they're trying to put it together for myself personally, and thinking, God, why didn't that happen? And, it just didn't go the way that I planned.
Yeah.
Bruce told me a story about 20 years ago about a couple that he knew, man and a woman, that were from a little poke town probably like Edson in Alberta. And they grew up in after the Depression, so they were like my dad's age, like in their 70s. And she grew up in a 2-bedroom cabin in some rural place in Alberta without electricity, without running water, nothing, as a little girl with 10 kids in her family.
And this is in the 30s?
She would have been a little girl.
Yeah.
And she married her husband, and I don't really know much about the husband.
Is it a true story?
Yeah, this is a true story. They're both Canadian. And they went along their lives, and they just worked hard and did what they did, like most Albertans are.
Yeah.
And they had kids and had a family, and just a good, solid family. And they got really, really wealthy, like excessive wealth. But all earned, not entitled, worked hard their whole lives. And they went to Arizona. They lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that's where I'm from, and that's where I met Bruce down there in Scottsdale. That's how we met. And these people had mansions, Learjets, homes around the world. I'm really, talking, these Albertans.
Really well.
The cars, the jewelry, the money, the art.
Yeah.
Ran with the politicians in Arizona, knew the Canadians.
How did they make this money?
I think he got into buying industrial park buildings in the early 60s and 70s. And when things were worth nothing, and they were, same thing in Alberta, things were worth nothing, and they just worked hard and just started, probably like your dad's story.
Yeah.
Like that, just built it from the ground up, had nothing. And then there's this thing called the S&L scandal in the 80s. You probably don't remember it in Arizona, but it was kind of like the banking thing that happened in 2007 and 8 in the U.S. and Canada, where it took everything down. And they lost everything. Busted them out to nothing.
Wow.
And Bruce had lost contact with them and ran into him a few years after that. And this would have been late 80s, and they had nothing. And Bruce said, my God, how do you do this? You go from this, and you had everything, to having nothing, and they were back in Alberta. And she said, Bruce, I grew up in a 2-bedroom cabin in some poke town in Alberta.
Yeah.
And I have my family, and I have my husband, and I have the things that money can't buy.
Yeah.
What have I lost?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you have to look at, what did you lose? And she said, I gained. Those are things money can't buy. I haven't lost a thing. I grew up in a 2-bedroom without running water and electricity. I have more than that.
Yeah.
What have I lost?
I mean, it's kind of like coming in here, even if you, come in here, if you don't win, it's you don't lose $100,000.
Exactly. You never had it to begin with.
Had it.
But you gain things.